Hi, welcome to Essential Living with Pilar. I am Pilar, and for those that may be watching for the first time, Essential Living is a show about literally that, all things holistic and essential for a life of growth, evolution, harmony with the planet and all life upon it, working as a unified force of light to elevate the consciousness on the planet in every way, in every aspect. So we cover different topics relating to that. And so welcome. Welcome to 2018. And I hope this year is treating you the way you want to be treated. It is just the beginning, but the first month has galloped by, and we are literally in the dead of winter, in that silent, dormant energy of the year, as evidenced by nature, which is our gauge for the cycles of life. Now is the time of regeneration, of regrouping, reassessing and planning what's to come and what's to be planted, what's to be nurtured, cultivated now as we come out of this silent, dormant time into the time where life begins to begin and flourish. And so I wanted to bring to the forefront tonight the necessity of having a spiritual practice. I mean, there's so much going on in the world. I think this year is going to be very different. It already feels very different from last year, because last year there was such an onslaught of shock value in every way. Everything that, for those of us who aspire to a better elevated consciousness and improvement of the planet and life upon it for the good of all, and unity and all of that, we were jarred into realizing that we can't sit on our butts anymore. We can't make any changes from the comfort of our own couch. It's not enough to post likes and dislikes on social media. It's time to act. It's time to become you. It's time to become who you really are. It's time for you to start being your mission, being your purpose, being your vision for yourself. And we all have one. We all have our dharma to live out. And that is what this year is propelling us to do. Especially astrologically, astronomically, a lot of activity happening, and a lot of activity happening right now. With the planetary positions as they are, but we're not going to digress into that. But suffice to say that everything is in specific geometric, dynamic, cosmic alignment for each of us to find our place in this lifetime as far as living our mission, our vision, being the warrior of the light that we came here to be. And there's no choice, and it's no dress rehearsal. It's time to act. It's time to be that person at all times. Who are you when you go out into the world, and what energy are you bringing into the world? And it doesn't have to be major, but it requires a constant awareness. And it takes, and here's the linchpin, that awareness requires that you take your attention away from the embattlement, the stuff that already is in our face that we are looking to change, but taking the attention away from all of that and bringing the attention back to you and your inner guidance, So you free up all the energy that is dissipated and wasted too regularly on being indignant and being negative and being critical and just pointing the fingers and it's important to be all of those things, because that is the point of reference from where we create what we do want. And we have to have sometimes in front of our nose and rub our nose into what we don't like enough to make us get up and move, to get that fire under our butts. But in order for us to have the direction of what we are here to do and what our specialty is as individual human beings, what is it in your true nature that you are here to offer life in general, it's important to have a spiritual practice. And you can call that a meditative practice. Whatever brings you into the silence, into quiet. Because if we're constantly looking and observing at what already is, then we're kind of recreating the same thing. Because we keep paying attention to it, and we create by our attention. Our attention is composed of our thoughts that generate our feelings, that then propel us to speak or act a certain way. And it becomes sort of a cycle. So to be mindful of those thoughts that we entertain, that generate the feelings that we feel, that make us speak the way we do or express what we want to express. All of those things are to be paid attention to. And in order to kind of reset the button, you've got to go into the quiet time of your higher self so you can get that information for yourself, from that aspect of you that is greater, wiser. Some people call it God, some people call it our source, our inner being, infinite intelligence, same thing. But I particularly want to encourage the practice, and it isn't easy, of just being in the silence, in the void. Native American cultures have a very good way of describing going into the blackness of the void, that you see when you close your eyes. If you close your eyes, you immediately see that black space, generally. And the thing is that most people are afraid of that silence because we're so used to being in noise and activity. But that is the point of creation, because from that blackness, from that darkness, it's not really black, but it's just dark. It's the darkness because it's not a negative thing. That is just where that emptiness is what frees up your energy from all your external pushes and pulls, that frees up your bandwidth to create something new. So it is something to be cultivated. It is something that is like anything else that you need to learn. It's a skill. And most of the times we hear about meditation and we read about it, but we don't understand quite exactly what is happening while we are in that quiet space. And there's a purpose and reason to do things a certain way for you to get the desired results. And so if you look at it from the point of view that you're using up all your attention equals your energy in focusing on whatever's around, registering, the brain registers it and process it a certain way that starts to generate a thought and so on. That happens constantly even without us really paying any attention to it. But I want to encourage mindfully paying attention to what you're paying attention to. And that void is the 0 point of possibility. It's the quantum field of potentials, infinite potentials. So that is what we want to tap into. And because when you're in that quiet space, then you're not being pulled away to other things to create the same things that already exist in your life. If you want to create something new, if we want to create a new world, if we want to create a new experience for ourselves, redefine ourselves, reinvent ourselves to present ourselves and show up as the human beings we want to be, our ideal self, then you have to kind of pause and become that ideal self. But first you have to empty the tank of your daily habits and get into that quiet space daily and start feeling comfortable in that quiet space. So on a regular basis, you have your day and you have your schedule, and it's sometimes those of us that aspire or want to or working or have had a meditation practice for a long time, it is important that we are consistent and rhythmic with it, because that is what builds the layers. It's like going to the gym. You can't go one day and expect to have a six-pack. You have to go on a regular basis and repeat and repeat and repeat and repeat, so that starts to build up. The cool thing is that we create everything with our mind. Our mind is the builder. There was a prophet, they would call him the sleeping prophet, at the beginning of the 20th century. His name was Edgar Cayce. Some of you may be familiar with his work. He used to channel all sorts of wisdom when he was asleep, and they recorded the information that he brought forth. But his one thing was always, the mind is the builder, the mind is the builder, the mind is the builder, and it is. Because that is what creates. And anybody that has any scientific background and into a laboratory knows that the observer can change the outcome of an experiment, because it is what we focus on. As I've mentioned this before many times in previous episodes, and I'll continue to repeat it because it's the foundation of everything. What you put your attention on grows. Those of you who garden knows, if you have a garden and you tend to it, it'll be a beautiful product. If you have a garden and you ignore it, you'll have a mess of weeds, and nothing will come of it. So same thing here. So here's the thing you want to do is pick a time of day that might be suitable for you. The best times of day are first thing in the morning, just before you wake up, and the last thing you do right before you go to sleep. Because as you wake up in the morning, you're still in that, you haven't jumped into your day awareness, and at the end of the day, you're tired enough that, not that you want to fall asleep, but you're ready to let go of the day and take a deep breath and get quiet. So it's important to set yourself up for success. So something that you want to start paying attention to is decide on a spot. So I'm going to give you a few things, a few tips to get you started. So as you know, too, I'll repeat, whenever you watch the show, I always give you homework to do. So it's always good to have a pen and paper handy so you can jot down a few notes, nothing too complicated, but just to give you some ideas to get started. You want to find a place that nobody will disturb you. So somewhere in your dwelling, find a spot. Find a spot that you can always count on being there for you reliably, that you can go to at the same time every day, and be able to shut the door, no people, no pets, no nothing, and have that be your space for a certain amount of time. Turning off all electronic devices, because anything that'll take away your attention, you want to turn off. Plus, it helps the brain quiet down when there isn't external stimulation. So find a space that you can reliably sit with, comfort. Make sure you have a comfortable chair or somewhere to sit on, but you want to sit up with your back straight and your shoulders back and relaxed. If you lay down, you'll fall asleep, so don't lay down. You may have some water next to you just in case. You, of course, go to the bathroom before you start because you want to eliminate all the distractions. Your mind will distract you at first anyway. So eliminate the possibilities as much as possible. Find yourself that quiet space. You can play, I would say, if you're going to play some music, you can do that, of course, because that's a beautiful way to help elevate your vibration and get you quiet. I would suggest anything that is instrumental and soothing, not with words or anything like that, because that'll distract you. And there are many types of meditation available. There are guided meditations and all sorts of recordings available for you to at least get started. But what I want to insist upon is that you get comfortable in the silence, which means the least amount of external stimulation, because you almost want to disappear your awareness from yourself. And it's going to take some work, and it's going to take you practicing every day, preferably at the same time, in the same spot. So it's making a habit of it. It's like anything else. You make a habit of eating certain times a day, so honor this habit for you. It is so important because this is what is going to get you centered and get in touch with that inner wisdom that is waiting for you to tap into, so you can make this year a catalyst year for yourself in creating a different life for yourself, a better daily living, being more effective out in the world, being the change that we want to see. It's not going to happen by just thinking about it. It's going to happen by being it. And this is what is going to be your foundation for that clarity. And so it is, I can't emphasize it enough. If you don't have this practice, you got to get one. You have to start today. Start today, start today, start today. Not to mention it has a myriad of health benefits, but that's not what we're talking about now. Basically, is getting you quiet enough to make the habit of going into that void, into that silence. And this is perfect time of year to get in that practice, because this is the time of year where nature is in that void, in that silence. Bears are hibernating, and they do call that aspect of the mind the cave of meditation. It activates the pineal gland and the pituitary gland to open up to that inner sight that is focused within to access that wisdom. So that is why that dark is so important. And so you understand even more, when you close your eyes for meditation, that darkness immediately starts to quiet the brain activity from beta waves, which is the more active daily, almost like stressful, like high beta is when you're in high stress, to the more relaxed alpha waves, which is when you are relaxed and you're easy, you have easy access to your subconscious. And that is when you start making that change. But in that quiet, you're going to have to really make a point of it. And I know, and I keep repeating it because it's going to be a little hard, but it'll be worth it. So you have, make a point of it. In that darkness, there's nobody there. So no necessarily creative visualization, no people, no things, no light, no events, no activity, no movement, just still, still, still. And once you get to that point, the rest will be easier for you. You'll be able to then, once you just let go, when you feel like you've dropped down levels by getting used to being in that silent quiet, then you can free up the energy to allow the vision of wisdom from your higher self to come into your consciousness. And that can only happen by being in that relaxed state of quiet and silence, because that is what opens the door to wisdom, what opens the door to the subconscious. Because in a way, if you look at at it from eliminating all thoughts out of there. It's like getting the weeds out of the garden so you can till the soil to plant something new. And that's where you can plant a new idea, a new thought, a new vision, a vision of your highest, greatest version of yourself, a healthier you, a wealthier you, a happier you, whatever it is that you want to improve upon or bring forth more of yourself can only happen by cleaning that mental attic out and eliminating all interruptions and allowing the space for the new thoughts to come in and the new ideas to come in that then you can cultivate and bring to fruition in your awakened state. So it requires your willingness to do it, your desire to be consistent, your discipline to be consistent, and it is a discipline. In fact, it is more of a discipline almost than anything else because we are so bombarded with external stimulation that to get comfortable in that silence is going to require your steady dedication to it, really, to yourself, because you're really doing this for you. You're doing this for you so you can breathe a little better, breathe a little easier. Give yourself that space so you can think clearly. You can make better decisions. You can respond to situations in life instead of reacting to situations in life. You can give yourself the opportunity of being the observer of the world. And from being that objective observer, you can be more effective in making better choices, saying things in a way that are better received, being available to have more energy, more creative opportunity for yourself. And it requires that you really have the desire to do that. And it'll take you less time to accomplish your goals if you don't have all of the distractions. It just brings in that focus. And you can really do it any time of day, but start with the times that you think are going to be more productive in that way for you, either in the morning upon waking or at night before going to sleep. And that is the point of creation. That is the point of the quantum field of possibility. And once you're in this quiet state, you're going to have thoughts that are going to come in. And if you find yourself going back and reviewing your day and finding that thoughts are creeping in about things you have to do, places you have to be, who you are, where you live, your job, your family, your car, your kids, your clothes, all of those things that define your present reality, if you find yourself letting all that in because it's just a habit, catch yourself and understand that you're just focusing on what already is. So divest your attention away from that and reinvest it and unfold it back into that void of possibility. Because in that quiet is where creation actually takes place. And that is when you'll have that clear picture of a future you, a future world. And it's just not something that there's room to do when you're focused on everything else that is happening in your world. So it's not about so much seeing the places, people, things that you already are surrounded by, but in a way that you'd like to see it, although there's nothing wrong with that. But I do want to emphasize that you clear out all thoughts as much as possible. And find yourself that place. Do it every day. Make sure that all of your space is available for you to be able to comfortably do it. If you miss a day, that's okay. Just try to establish the habit. And it takes 21 days to break or set a habit. So maybe start today. start today at the beginning of the day tomorrow. But start right away. If you wait, it's easy to say tomorrow though. I would say start today. It's easy to say tomorrow. But if you always get used to saying tomorrow, you will always say tomorrow, and you'll never trust yourself to do what you say you're going to do. So that's it. Get this going, because this is what we are all being called to do. And again, it is happening planetarily. It is happening astrologically. We're all being invited or even forced to really look within to see, who am I? What do I want to bring into this world? With everything going on, what contribution do I want to make? What is the best contribution I can make? And that is exactly what you need to find out from yourself by going into yourself, into that inner silence, into that silence of peace, serenity. And if it makes you a little nervous because you're not used to it, you'll get used to it little by little. But that is where the wisdom is. The still small voice within can only be heard in that silence. And you can only get the answers that you want by being still. Because prayer is asking for answers, right? Or prayer or meditation in more active ways is you're looking for answers. But being then quiet into that silence is when you get to hear the answer and the guidance. But you have to get quiet, you have to get still, and you have to get comfortable in that silence. And then once you're dissipated your attention from the known, that is when you start making the room to create a new vision, something new, a new you in every way. And your imagination is your cookie cutter into the universal light substance that then collapses into physical reality. But it takes your attention. So pay attention, mind your own business, and focus on what matters. Because focusing on something is what brings it into matter, into form, into physical reality. So, on that note, please start today, because we all need to band together and create the life we want. And there are more of us than there are of that other energy. We just have to get into our power and get proactive. And the best way to get proactive is to go within. And it's an inside job, because our outer world is a reflection of the conversations we have in our mind and in our heart. So it all begins with you making the change and being the change you want to see and be, and being it. And it starts with you going within and establishing that spiritual practice. And the word practice is for a reason, because it requires practice. So start today. And I'll see you next time. And this year is going to be a rocking year. But it'll take all of us pulling together and being the light we came here to be. I bid you farewell. Until next time. Thank you.